So President Zelenskyy of Ukraine sat down with podcaster Lex Fridman for an interview. If you haven't had a chance to see it, I highly recommend you go out of your way and find it and watch it. I did, and I really enjoyed it. And I was really glad to see Zelenskyy go on Lex Fridman's podcast, and here's why. All of these bro podcasts out there, they're all pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, and therefore they're all pro-Putin. And so the only side of the story that anyone has ever heard is the Russian side of the story. So I was glad to see Zelenskyy sit down with this interview, and I hope that he goes on more podcasts like this and gets his message out there for people to hear. The interview wasn't combative, although it did get heated a couple of times. And the reason why I feel that it got heated is because of what has happened to Ukraine. Zelenskyy has every right to be upset. He has every right to not be very forgiving or not be very cordial when it comes to Putin. This here, I'm going to play you this clip here, but first I want to explain what happened. So Zelenskyy can speak Russian, but he chose not to. And he explains in this next clip, I'm going to show you why he chose to not speak Russian. Lex Fridman can speak Russian, so Lex Fridman is speaking Russian. Zelenskyy is speaking Ukrainian, and there's an interpreter, so there's voiceovers. So you will hear voiceovers here. And they actually went a couple of times during the interview, they shifted and spoke in the other languages. It's very interesting. But here is Zelenskyy explaining why he's not going to speak in Russian. Take a look.
I speak Russian perfectly, of course, and I understand everything you are talking about. However, I can't respond in Russian the entire interview. It's because this is how it is today. I am not making anything up. You can see it all for yourself. You can feel and hear it. Today, there were 73 missile attacks against us, and people were killed. There were over 100 drones today, and this is a daily occurrence. The people who attack us, they speak Russian. They attack people who were only recently told that this was actually in defense of Russian-speaking people. And this is why I respect neither the leader or director of today's Russia, nor the people. That's it. And I don't think that you can just pretend that nothing's happening and give Putin a pass once again for saying that we are one people, that we speak one language, etc. They speak the language of weapons. That is a fact. And we are peaceful people who want to protect themselves and defend their freedom and their human choice.
So the reason Zelenskyy wouldn't speak Russian the entire interview is because you got Putin going around telling the world that, hey, we're all one country, we're all one people, and Zelensky's not going to respect that, and who can blame him? In this next clip, though, I really like this because Lex Fridman says, or asks the question that, does Putin love his country? And I love Zelensky's response to this. Take a look.
You talking about now, who loves his country?
Putin. Do you think he doesn't love his country?
No. What is his country? He happened to consider Ukraine his country. What is his country? Explain it. Tomorrow he will say that it's America. No pity for the Chechens? Do they look like Russians? Do they speak Russian? Of course. Of course they learn in schools like anywhere there's been Russification. Who are the Chechens? A different people. Another faith, other people, another language, a million. Eliminated. And eliminated how? How did he kill them? With love? I know, fuck. By hugging. In Ukrainian, as we say, strangling by hugging. I love you so much. I love you so much that I want to kill you. That's his love. And that's not love. You're mistaken. He does not love his people. He loves his inner circle. It's only a small part of the people. He doesn't love them. Why? I'll explain. You cannot send your people to another land to die, knowing that they will die.
That was a pretty chilling response from Zelenskyy, and as I was sitting there listening to it, I said to myself, I don't know if you all felt this way, but I was thinking of Trump the entire time, and thinking, there's another guy that doesn't love his country. When people says that people like Putin or Trump loves their country, I always cringe at that, because they don't love their countries, they love power. and they're greedy for more power. And they have manipulated their countries to no end. Donald Trump here in America, I mean, has said that he would be dictator on day one and terminate the Constitution anytime he's seen fit. You can't love your country and say that. There's no way that you can love what this country truly stands for and say something like that. So these people are not people who loves their country. They're people who loves to control other people. And they put out this phony brand of patriotism and this phony brand of religion out there and try to act like they're the party of morals and values. And all of it is an act. And I know I use this phrase a lot, but when it comes down to it, something like the Constitution, the Bible, the flag, those are stage props to Donald Trump. They're just something that he uses in his act. They're not something he actually believes in or follows. But I want to play you one more clip from this interview. And again, I highly recommend you go watch the entire thing. It's about 3 hours long, but it's worth it. I would highly recommend that you watch it. Right here, Lex asks him if he would ever forgive Vladimir Putin. And again, this answer is pretty chilling. Take a look.
But unfortunately, the reality is that a compromise is needed in order to reach an agreement.
In your understanding, the fact that he is in jailed after all the murders, he is not in jailed assuming all the murders, and no one in the world is able to put him in his place, send him to prison. Do you think this is a small compromise?
This is not a small compromise, and to forgive him will not be a small compromise.
To forgive, no one will forgive. This is absolutely impossible to forgive him. We cannot get into the head and soul of a person who lost their family. Nobody never will accept this. Absolutely impossible. I don't know, do you have children?
No, not yet,
Okay.
but I would like to.
Yes. God bless. And this is the most important thing in life. And they simply took away the most precious thing from you, will you ask? Who ruined your life before going to rip their head off? I'm just curious. They took your child away. Are you going to ask who did this? And they will answer that dude did this. You will say, oh, well, then there are no questions. No, you will go fucking hell and bite their head off.
Now, I'm sure I will probably get some messages for this because anytime I talk about forgiveness, someone messages me to say, Brando, you have to learn how to forgive. But really, when you stop and think about all that Ukraine has been through and what Putin has put that country through, and then everybody acts like it's just like, yeah, just forgive the guy. He just invaded a sovereign nation and tried to take it over. Just forgive him for that. He's not going to stop at what he's doing. The guy isn't going to stop. And when you talk about compromise, do you honestly think Putin's going to compromise by saying, oh, yeah, well, I tried. I'll leave you guys alone now? No, that's not the compromise that he's looking for. And Zelenskyy knows that. So why would he be forgiving toward a man who caused so much death and destruction in his country? I understand why that we should forgive people, and I understand why that we should move on from certain things, but some things are absolutely unforgivable, and they are because the person has every intention of continuing to keep doing it, and that's what's happening with Putin coming into Ukraine. I really did enjoy the whole interview. I think that everyone should watch it, and I do think that that Zelenskyy should go on more podcasts like this because I think he needs to get his message out there. It's been too slanted in this country. All these podcasters out there, they all lean for Trump, and whatever Trump says, they go with. And there was one spot in the podcast where Lex, because Lex is a big fan and friend of Joe Rogan, and he asked Zelenskyy if he would come to America and they would all go out to eat together and go out to eat with Joe Rogan. And Zelenskyy said that he would. He said that Joe Rogan was good at what he did. He said he's good at doing the type of interviews he does, and he would be willing to sit down and talk with Joe Rogan. Then Lex goes so far as to say, well, can we bring Putin along? And he said, no, we can't bring Putin along. What's crazy to me is that someone like Lex and Joe Rogan will be cool. Yeah, let's bring Vladimir Putin along for this dinner. Let's go get some barbecue in Texas and just bring Putin along. I mean, that to me tells you everything you need to know about them. But I do hope that Zelenskyy does go on Joe Rogan, and I hope he sits down and talks to more people because it's been way too slanted for far too long. All that the media really has heard is Putin's side of the story. And I said media because, folks, let's be realistic. The liberal media in this country that they all talk about, that died out years ago. There's not one. There is definitely a right-wing MAGA media out there. When you take into consideration all of the news channels that are out there, and you take into consideration all of these bro podcasts, and then you throw on top of that every pulpit in this country, every church, yeah, they've got the bigger media, they've got the bigger platform. We are seeing a rise in independent media because people are starting to grow tired of the bullshit that they see. But to anyone out there, when someone starts saying the liberal media, the minute they say that, I just kind of dismiss what they say after that because I'm like, no, you're clearly not paying attention. The other side has the bigger microphone and they're a whole lot louder. And that's why someone like Zelenskyy needs to go out every chance he can get and sit down and talk on those platforms, because a lot of these bros like Lex or like Theo Vaughn or like Joe Rogan, none of these guys are ever really combative in their interviews. They sit there and they at least let the person talk. And I will say this: I'm not really Joe Rogan's biggest fan, but that is a place where you can talk. You can hear someone talk for 3 hours, and you can really get to know someone and really learn a whole lot about someone during that time. So I think that the Democratic politicians and people like Zelenskyy needs to go on shows like that and get their message out there, because all that's happening otherwise is the guests are going on there and building these straw men of us and tearing it down. So we don't need that. We need to continue to get our message out there and let it be heard and let people realize what we're really about. Because if you just sit and let MAGA tell everyone what you're about, you're never going to get ahead. And no, that doesn't mean I want to go have a beer with MAGA anytime soon. It just means that we do need to get our message out there to people and let them hear it. So, again, go check out that entire interview, and I think you will really enjoy it. I know that I did. And, again, thank you so much for supporting me here on this channel. We've made it over 500,000 subscribers. We're on the road to 1 million. That's really hard to wrap my mind around, but we'll keep putting in the work and we'll get there. And I truly appreciate your support.